Stoa is a digital campfire where we cohere in dialogue about what matters most at the knife's edge of what's happening now.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Stoa, the Pneuma of the Stoa, why breathwork will save the world. So before I tag in Steve, for those of you who, I think most regulars know that who Steve Beattie is. He's a man that has been here at the Stoa since the Stoa started back in March. We've almost been here for a year now. He's been it's like the breath of the Stoa, really. You've been every Sunday and then Monday and Wednesday doing breath work or the Stoic breath here at the Stoa. And Steve and I were in conversation about like having kind of a breath work series here at the Stoa, because Steve is really plugged into that scene. We've been trying to get Wim Hof on here, and Steve suggested to have sort of like a roundtable discussion with breathwork practitioners. And so this is sort of a one-off session that potentially could launch a series here that Steve is going to lead and have explorations with breathwork. So today is going to be a fun session. We have three, including Steve, three practitioners, Chuck and Jesse right there. And this is the first time I have beard goals now at the Stoa. So, so thank you for that. That was an unexpected phenomenon. So yeah, I'm going to take in Steve in a moment. We're going to be here. He'll set the protocols. I think we're here for an hour, 60 minutes, or maybe a little bit longer. And it's going to be experimental. And Steve will explain that. So I will take in you, my friend. I'll let you, there you go.
All right, here I am. It's so nice to see so many familiar names, and now I can actually also see your faces at the same time. It's exciting times, whole new forum here. So thank you for coming, everyone. This is great. I'm quite excited about this. And the idea behind this was that the Stoa originally was a bunch of old Greek guys standing out on the veranda, having a coffee and shooting the shit. Maybe not coffee, but they were maybe a glass of wine, but standing around just talking about philosophy and talking about what's meaningful in the world. And I thought it would be good to do that right here on our digital verandas and just have a conversation about breath work and where it all comes from and why we do it and how we got here and where we're going next. And I'm going to spring this on Chuck and Jesse now that we might do a little exercise partway through, a little maybe 30-hour exercise. We'll do a little 30-second exercise each, maybe your favorite little piece of breath work that you'd like to, your elevator pitch of breath work, if you will. So we'll throw that in and we'll just have a discussion on where that goes. And then a little later on, we can do a little Q&A session where you can write your questions and comments, compliment our beards, if you wish, in the chat forum there, and just see where this goes as a little bit of an experimental Stoa for the night. Now, what I like to do in all of my conversations with people in these forums where we're coming together from different places, different time zones, different physical places in the world, which has been this weird paradigm shift in this past year where suddenly it's not like that anymore, it's like that over there. And so I'd like to just connect with my co-hosts here, Jesse and Chuck, and just ask, where are you, my friend? Where are you? And that's both physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, health-wise. Where are you?
I could start. So I would say, first of all, I am in Indiana. So I'm a Midwesterner, kind of in the middle. In the United States, it's considered flyover country, but I'm not holding that against everybody that calls me flyover country. It's an interesting time right now because we recently had an enormous amount of snow, and then now it's 60 degrees, and so that's really nice. One thing I have noticed though is that the kind of the dregs of the past year have affected me on an emotional level, and it's something that I think that it's important to be aware of. And that's something that it's funny. I would have thought now, especially in the area that I'm in, COVID numbers are incredibly low. Things are opening back up like crazy, and things are getting a lot more, to somewhat of a normal state. But strangely enough, sometimes, especially recently, I've been kind of in a funk. So it's something that I've been kind of working through. We'll talk about a certain kind of breath work, specifically some altered state breath work that I've been doing to work my way through that. But I would say otherwise, I'm in a pretty good place. Other than I've been wanting to lose some weight. I've been thinking about like slimming down a little bit, and I keep forgetting to stop eating pasta. So health goals, not so good on that front. Oh, other than that, very good.
It's all relative though. The bigger that beard gets, the smaller you look.
I'm just saying exactly. And so if I just keep it growing, if I just keep it working, and I don't know, it is getting to where, I wake up in the morning and, it's just like, there's a certain degree of, it's like bedhead on your face. I came up with, especially when you wear masks, right? So there's like hat hair, but on your beard, and it's a real problem, my friends. I didn't realize how big of a problem it was going to be, but it is. And so hat hair has that alliteration that makes it so easy to just kind of rolls off your tongue. Mask beard, I don't know. It almost sounds like a pirate. It's like, oh, and look here, it comes in a mask beard. Has that kind of a deal. Other than that, no further comment on my beard situation.
That's awesome. Chuck, are you there?
I am. Yeah. Hello. I have a 5-month-old, almost 6-month-old kid right now, and an 11-year-old. Man, she'd get mad if I said 11 months. And 9-year-old. And really, they keep me in a pretty good mood. I mean, listening to their imagination, like, so what's happening today in your world? And they'll tell me a story, and I'm like, cool. And sometimes I don't want to listen to it, but I'm like, keep going, because I don't have a choice, because they're going to tell me anyway, and I can either passively listen or begin to resist. And I treat them like my mental ice bath, just surrender to it, let them go, and just be in the moment, because the more I fight it, the worse it's going to get.
Yep.
And amen.
That is so true. That is so true.
That's where I've been this whole year. As the year gets crazy, I don't see it as like throwing me curveballs. I just find reasons to pivot, and I'm not trying to be happy. And if I'm sad, I'm okay being sad in a moment. I'm aiming for balance. And if anything else happens, I'm ready for it. But it's just trying to find that nice, calm state to accept everything. And that's the point. 21-year-old me would think I'm a crazy, kooky asshole for saying it. But 41-year-old me is like, you know what? It's okay. It can be sad. It can be happy. It's everything. I want everything. I want the whole life pie right now. I don't want just happiness. I want the whole life pie, because it makes everything taste delicious to just accept all the pieces. And now that I've accepted all the pieces, I find I'm eating mostly happy ones. It's crazy how that turned out. I stopped trying to force that happy emotion, and it just sort of began to cultivate itself.
It's funny how that works, eh?
Yeah.
So two actually really good talking off points.
That's where I started. That wasn't me last March. This is especially the past few weeks. Just oh crap, that's what they meant.
It's funny. The more we run at happiness, the more we grasp for it. In fact, in the U.S., it's part of your constitution or something, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we got it.
Happiness.
It's the pursuit of happiness.
Pursuit. Yeah. You have to pursue happiness. You can't embody it. You can't cultivate it. You have to, we have to chase it and hold it. And then if it escapes, we're sad, and we have to buy something else.
And that's the paradoxical effect of it. The more you want to have it, the more you realize you don't have it.
Right.
And that's true of anything. The more money you want, the more money you realize you don't have.
Sadly.
Yeah, and I see that all the time. People who have immense wealth feel very, very poor. People who should be happy are just glum because they don't know they're happy yet.
Yeah. Well, and of course it's just like the ancient wisdom, right? Of the fact that happiness seems to be a byproduct of something else, right? It's something that we happen to get, doing something, right? The things that bring you real happiness oftentimes come from great struggle, right? And Chuck, I gotta say, what a gap of two different kind of mental ice baths, right? An 11-year-old and a 5-month-old, right? I've never experienced, I don't have a child that's old, but that's that old, but I've experienced 5 and under, right? And so now 5, I gotta say, we're talking some primo ice bath here, because everything is a robot, everything. And then everything is 5 or 6 times over and over again. He's learning jokes. So, and you know how beautiful a joke can be, right?
The first time.
But the funny thing is, we don't understand always what is funny, right? Or why it's funny. So it's like, if it got a laugh, well, that must have been funny. I need to say it again, right? And so, and again. So
I like the concept of the mental ice bath, because when we have the actual physical ice baths suck. They suck. I hate going into the cold. It's the number one question we get, right? When does it get easier? Yeah. It never gets easier. It's horrible. Don't do them. Terrible stuff.
Avoid. Just don't listen to me.
But when you get out of the ice bath, it's that return. It's the return to comfort, the return to safety, and that mental ice bath with your child who is telling you the joke again. And then when he stops, oh God!
And there's that silence,
silent relief.
But as much as the ice bath sucks, there's nothing in the world I found that can train me safely to react calmly to stress. Other than that, I mean, it stresses me out physically. I have to accept it mentally, and by surrendering to that moment and just calm breath, because it doesn't matter what's going on. It's that calm breath in the ice that serves us. Yeah. And it's cultivating. I need to stop saying that word. It's been my catchword recently just because it's stuck in my brain. But
your sleep-addled brain because of the children.
Probably, but to find that calm place in stress, and then to take it everywhere, and just be like, okay, I'm stressed. Let's find that calm place. It goes right past me, and I don't find myself rising to it and holding it and being angry about it 10 minutes later when the kid's already on the other joke they're going to repeat for the 4th time.
That was the first thing I noticed. Kind of the second thing I noticed getting into the Wim Hof method and doing the ice baths and the cold showers. After a few months of that, I noticed that I wasn't bothered by stuff, by hitting a red light and then another red light. And red light didn't bother me anymore. Whereas before I'd be like, stupid red light. How could you do that to me? And that just went away, and all that little stuff, all the little annoyances just were gone. When you can manage the ice bath, you can manage the mental ice bath easily.
And that's where that happiness we're searching for comes in. Happiness doesn't have to be like, woo! It can be like, man, I didn't get pissed off at that red light today. Fantastic. Like those moments, those moments are moments of triumph for me. I used to still have anger issues.
Hey, we all have our times. We all have our moments, right?
So not getting mad, not freaking out, man, those are huge wins. Okay,
yeah. I think it'd be great to just be able to reframe all those little annoyances in life now as the mental ice bath, and then welcome them as every little moment. It's almost like Stoicism that way. Every little moment you can observe. Who'd have thought? And then observe it that way. And this testing, this trying thing, this red light is just a mental ice bath. This, hearing the joke for the 1 millionth time, just an ice bath.
Yeah. And you're right, Chuck. The more you resist, the more the harder you try to struggle, the worse it is. And that can be said for both, right? And that can be said for most annoyances and issues and problems. Is like, okay, all right, just the acceptance is the hard part. But once you get past that, then you can actually do something with it. But it all comes down to, especially with the topic of the night, breath work. What is it? Breath work was gonna
how it can save the world.
Save the world. I love that. I love that. because when the thing about the world, right? The one thing that we all have in common is we're breathing, hopefully, right? So, and when we're looking at these stressors, when we're looking at trying to reframe whatever it is, right? Mr. Annoying person at the office. Of course, I don't know. That's a funny thing. If it's been so long since I've been to the office that I almost feel like it would be like a social call. You know, I'd be like, oh, it's kind of a special day today. I'm going to go sit in a meeting, you know, and because Zoom has kind of helped us though, right? I don't know if you guys have had to do many meetings with Zoom. The cool thing about Zoom, you know what the cool thing about Zoom is? Right there.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing. Oh, I'm listening. I'm watching. I'm here. And then I've stepped away and I've, you know, or I'm just kind of like doing whatever I want to do. But just simply the fact that we haven't been in these meetings, which I used to hate so much, and I probably will learn to dislike again. But, you know, that may make it into almost a social call. But when we're in these stressors, the primary mechanism that we can use that I think was hidden to the vast majority of the West for so long was the fact that our breath is connected so much to our state and our ability to make those kinds of regulations, to down-regulate that fight or flight response, or at least to sort of get a handle on our emotional state. And a little factoid that I want to share with everybody, that you're going to want to share with somebody, because it's kind of a cool factoid that I found out, and that's why I share it everywhere I go, is that we're the only species that can do it. We're the only species that can do breath work. So like, I don't know if you guys are dog people or cat people. If there is a dog or a cat in the room with you right now and you're hearing my voice, look at that dog or cat and hold your breath. And know that your dog or cat cannot voluntarily do that. You're kind of showing off now. There's a dog. I see a dog. So if you look at your dog, Christopher, and you say, hey, guess what I can do? Your dog can't do that. No other species on the planet can do that. And the theory, we have this ability, and this blew my mind. And I gave all sorts of, the scientists that I was talking to, I gave all sorts of, I was like, no, what about like dolphins? And what about whales? And what about what else? Beavers and all these things?
All the marine mammals
all these things that they have to hold the breath to go underwater. Well, they can hold the breath, but they can't do it just because they feel like it. Yeah,
it's the mammalian dive reflex, right? They go down and they stop breathing.
It's all automatic, right? It's all part of their autonomic nervous system. Well, human beings, whoa, we have this capacity. And the theory is that whenever we develop the ability to speak, that we adapted we gained this ability. And if you think about, you know, we have to be able to modulate our breath in order to speak. And it just so happens that this opened up an amazing doorway, and it provided us with, and actually the part of our brain that's where this, I guess, this connection is located is next to our emotional centers. And so it allows us to regulate ourselves. And this is why it just blew my mind. And I think in the West, so much of the time it's seen as this weird thing, you know, that, or it's either this weird, scary thing, or you're letting the devil in, right? Or
I've got a fascinating add-on to that. If I jump in right there.
Yeah, please.
You
got to jump in sometimes.
Yeah. So a number of people that I work with who in personal development and meditation and growth and grief counseling and that kind of stuff. And what many of them have noticed afterwards, after a few weeks, a few months, is that their voice changes.
Oh.
Yeah. They have a different voice. A lot of the men say the voice becomes slower and much deeper. And the women say that they have a much more mellow voice to it.
Oh, that makes total sense.
And it's because what you think about, when like our society, our rush for ascension all the time, it's always that climb. We're always trying to climb up for something better, something bigger, chasing the happiness or chasing the job goals, the the promotions, the new car. We're always trying to climb and climb and climb. And even in our wellness community, it's always reaching for the rainbows and puppy dogs.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Right?
that whole be your best and Facebook perfect crap. It's
I know.
that's toxic. That's toxic.
Yeah, because it reminds everybody of how little they have. But when we turn that around and you learn to exhale, that's where it comes from. We're stuck inhaling when you're stressed.
Yeah.
We're stuck up here just all the time. And we actually, the whole breath reflex is reversed. When we breathe, we breathe in and out to a pause. In and out to a pause. When you're stressed.
Yeah.
But there's something else that happens there too that a lot of people don't realize is when you breathe in and you're in your upper chest, the three areas are your stomach, your chest, and your neck. But when you breathe in quick to your neck, this is a soft breath and a stress breath.
Yeah. So if you have all that tone,
tension, you can see it move, and that's not supposed to be happening. Yeah. The tension that brings in that vertical ascent of the rib cage, as opposed to the
lateral expansion and
the lateral expansion, this is the key to our emotions. We're influencing our emotions. We're achieving these goals, but we're telling ourselves, no, we're still not happy. Something's going to eat us. How can you be happy right now?
Yeah.
You're telling me we're being chased by something. Look, you're saying it. You're breathing.
Right.
We're being chased.
Yeah.
And people are telling themselves that they're unhappy and stressed out without using words, without any story. And then we add our narrative on top of it.
Yeah. Without even knowing it. I think that's the thing that blew my mind, was that, you are reinforcing those negative emotions and those fears and anxieties without even knowing it. And what happens is, okay, so you're a little stressed out about something, that's normal, right? And so, but the thing is, our brains are incredibly powerful and they create these boogeymen. And then we start getting, oh man, I'm kind of scared a little bit more. I start breathing faster, which is natural when you're afraid. Before you know it, you start noticing, oh my God, I'm breathing faster, which freaks you out even more.
Well, that physical changes your mental state, which changes your physical state, and back and forth until you're completely wound up.
And if you're stuck getting wound up unconsciously, and this is I'm sorry to type, not sorry, but this is, how can breathwork save the world, is to realize if you've been mouth breathing for so long, your body is going to say, holy crap, will you just stop for a second? And you're going to hold your breath unconsciously. But if you've been breathing suboptimally, your CO2 threshold's low. And suddenly when you hold your breath, your CO2 is going to rise past that threshold, and you're straight just mainlining into that fear and anxiety response. So your body's natural instinct to keep you alive is to slow you down. But if in that slowing down is an anxious, crazy space because you've been breathing suboptimally, if I can get any of my clients to do anything, it's to just breathe through your nose for a bit and slow it down, raise that CO2 threshold. And as you said, find that deep, calm place. Just learn to exhale. When people say, I can't breathe. Okay, stop trying.
Yeah.
Exhale. And
when you get there, feel
there and stay there.
Feel sad, feel grief, feel anger.
Feel it
all the way through to the other side. Ride that feeling all the way down to the bottom.
That's a great point. I think that needs to be something that I look at. You look at the fitness industry, and there's a lot of really negative marketing or selling of like pipe dreams or just one simple trick, and then you'll have abs or whatever.
And they plan.
but my hope is that breath work, now that it's starting to really bloom, I hope that we don't see that in our field because some people can say, well, and in researching for my book on breath work, I did a lot of workshops and I went to a lot of trainings, and there would always be a person that would be like, hey, I have all these problems, but I'm glad I found this breath work to solve all my problems. It was, and that's not true either, right? It helps us get into the right state. It puts us into a position where we're allowing ourselves to show up, right? We're allowing ourselves to actually show up in the best condition we can to solve our problems. But we actually have to go about, we actually have to go about doing the work. You actually have to make up with your spouse, or you actually have to, go to get the job, or, whatever it is that you
still got to do the stuff.
You actually have to do the stuff. It's not like you just, it's not that one simple trick. So, I think a lot of us want that one simple. Well, we all do. I mean, if literally there was one simple trick, I mean,
we'd all do it, wouldn't we?
First in line.
Win the lottery. It's win the lottery. That's
just win the lottery.
Win the lottery, and you're good. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning twice, but that could be your.
I've only been struck once so far, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, incidentally, people who win the lottery, the vast majority of them,
super unhappy.
Blow it all through.
Yeah.
In a year, gone.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I was thinking about grief today. Ooh. Nice. I was going for a nice walk with the dog, and it's 8 degrees Celsius. Beautiful day today. I was thinking about grief, as one does when they're walking the dog.
Of course, that's the natural. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? But what I noticed about, and so I was thinking about children crying, and it's not. They don't cry in. They don't go as they cry. When they cry, they blow it all out. They completely exhale every single ounce of that breath. They push,
and it's a long exhale, right? It's a
and then they like stop at the bottom. They don't breathe.
Right? Chuck knows more than anybody now, right?
I can give you multiple examples from multiple years of that cry and exhale. There's the pain one. There's the silent scream. I'm going to put the spin of comedy on all of these, but it's true. They let it all out. They push to the bottom, and then they hold.
Yeah.
And then it's
yeah, and then they're done.
Yeah.
Think about when we breathe in, we inspire, right? And inspire is the spirit entering us in a way. It's that rush of life into us. When we breathe out, we expire. We push that spirit back in. We like push whatever we're grieving, whatever energy we push it out of us completely.
That's into one of my favorite quotes. Expression is the opposite of depression. And if we don't let it go, it will go in.
Yeah.
And so many people, I mean, I suffered from diabetic induced depression. Everyone's had their share of grief, and the misunderstanding that people have when they're in those dark places, I just want to be happy. So you want to go from one emotional extreme to another right away. That's going to be exhausting. Try just not being that way. Accept how you're feeling. Feel it. Let it pass. Go back to center, and then start from the middle. Yeah. We always want these extremes. Like, I'm here. I need to be happy. How about just not feel bad for today if you're stuck in that loop? And that's okay. Like, why aim for perfect right away? Get so upset when you miss it, when you can just be like, I just want to feel a little less sad today, and allow yourself to feel that sadness rather than giving yourself crap for having that emotion. Yeah.
I found myself in that state earlier in the year. I was we weren't coming out of lockdown. I was frustrated. I wanted to get on with life. And I felt that same funk that you're in now, Jesse.
Yeah.
And I sat down and did some breath work and let myself go into it and just feel into it, and thought, I'm just angry at the world and at myself, and everything's stalled. And so I just let myself feel through that, and just every breath out I took, I let myself ride that wave of sad, like grief, down to the very bottom. And so I got to the bottom, thought, okay, it's going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of pissed off for a few days, and then I feel good now. I'm done.
You vented, you let it go. And that's this knowledge bomb he drops. Everyone listening in the internet verse world space, don't shy away from your scary emotions. Feel those things. So much of our society is about you see it avoiding the uncomfortable, not ever taking the time to feel that stuff, and it doesn't serve us well.
Mhm.
How can you
Right.
know what true happiness is unless you've sat in true sadness? And I'm not, you know, saying go search out true sadness, find that balance. And if you happen to find yourself there, notice, like, I'm not saying go search out these extremes, but notice those extremes when you're there and allow the space for them to take their time.
Mhm.
And whatever you're trying to force of, oh, I think it should be this long. That's funny. It's not about thought right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not about thought. There's no thought. There's no thought in your heart.
Yeah.
And I think right.
Go ahead.
And right now I think we're in a state like all of our nations, like people from all over the world right now, we've just been destroyed economically, socially. Like we should be sad right now. We should be upset. We should be pissed off and angry and grieving. So let's.
And happy that we have what we have, and we have what we can talk to and who we can talk to. We're everything. It's not either or, it's both and. We have the reason to be all of it right now. And it's okay to be any of it at any time.
Yeah.
And love the Theracane.
Yeah,
Great.
I was noticing that too.
Yeah. Gotta say, it made me jealous.
Yeah, I'm like, well, let's see, where did I put mine? It's around
Sorry,
here
I am
somewhere.
distracted by ooh shiny. That is deep philosophical shiny. Like, yeah.
But on the topic of suffering and on the topic of actually feeling grief, this is something when when I was in my first year of, I was a Wim Hof method instructor. My wife and I, we suffered an incredible loss. We were attempting to adopt 2 children from DCS, and at the last minute, the judge reversed the decision to let us adopt. We had already had them in our home for almost a year. It was, it was two children that were pretty, I mean, it wasn't one of those things where, well, maybe, we believed that our future would be with these children. So first year, right? And I still had, even though I still had the idea in my head, well, Wim Hof method, man, I don't have to feel sadness because I'll just do a little breath work, hop in the old ice bath, happy, I still had this. And honestly, for a little while, I was like, well, what's wrong? Why am I crying myself to sleep all the time? Why am I in this terrible state? Right. And then I think what happened was I realized, and that was back whenever, actually, when it comes to Stoicism, right? Stoicism is it's kind of hip. It's popular. A lot of people believe that it's all about almost just, I'm going to decide not to feel that today, right? I think that's one of the most common, misperceptions. It's like, well, you know what? Yeah, so my life is burning and I'm losing my loved ones, but I'm going to decide, to not feel sad. Well, no, it's not like we're just eliminating all of the emotions. It's about domesticating them, right? And so I was like, okay, obviously I can't make this go away. This is something that I'm going to really have to feel. And so I decided at that point to go 100% and feel as just really experience the sadness, really just explore this sense of loss and the sense of anger and the sense of resentment and all these emotions, and that's when I learned, okay, it's really important to do that. And there's a reason why it's important to not just go get busy like a lot of us want to do, right? Well, when bad things happen, we just get busy, start cleaning the house, and try to avoid these emotions. So now, that was 2017, years have passed, and many times that people will come to me, whether it's Wim Hof method or other breathing techniques that I teach, and they'll be like, hey, I've been doing this. Why am I sad? I'm still sad. And the advice I always come back and I say, sometimes it's important to just really embrace it, to really say, there's a reason why I need to work through this. And there's a reason nature gave us these emotions, I believe. And so Now, obviously, if there's no reason and you're constantly depressed and things like that, obviously there's differences there, but focusing on it and just saying, okay, I'm going to experience this. I'm going to let this process work through. I don't see anything wrong with that. And in fact, looking back, I'm so glad that I did it that way, rather than what I know a lot of people do is they'll deny it at the time and then experience it later and suffer it as like a PTSD type of a disorder or some kind of a delayed onset. So
you will feel it eventually.
You can't
physically,
escape.
Emotionally, you will feel whatever it was. It will come back and get you.
And I think if you let yourself feel it while you know why you're feeling it, that's very helpful, because if you don't, and you're just and later on you're like, why is it that I feel this anger? Why is it, I think then it's very confusing, and you still have to suffer through all of those emotions.
And it just takes longer.
Yeah.
It just takes, you're by avoiding it, you're just drawing it out.
Yep.
You're making that pain just keep compounding. Just get it. Face it, accept it. It'll go away faster. The faster you face it, the faster it goes away.
Yeah,
but you have to know it's there, and that was my story.
Too.
I denied trauma in my life for decades, and that manifested itself in a physical illness. I developed this inflammatory disorder that made me wildly ill.
Yeah,
and ended up in hospital. There's a longer story to it, but that's what got me into the Wim Hof method. And even then, while I was starting to feel better doing it, I was starting to tap into the pressure valve a little bit and letting off some steam. I still didn't know what it was. I couldn't identify what it was. And it was when I was doing my Wim Hof method instructor course that it was a 5-day course. And we were like, the first day we were told to meditate on our blockage. I don't have a blockage. Let's just get right.
Yeah. Right.
And we're being guided into these deep emotional states. I started to feel this thing coming up, and I was like, push that back down. It's getting in the way of me.
Yeah, that's what I always do.
I don't want to feel that.
I don't want to feel that. I'm looking for my blockage here. And then it was on the last day of that where we did this big long breath round. There it was again, that weird thing. I got in the ice water and I broke down completely and just bawled my eyes out, just crying and laughing hysterically at the same time. And I couldn't turn it off. I could not turn it off. And that was the first time I cried in 32 years. That's how disconnected I was from my emotional state.
Yeah.
So the little things that annoyed me before, I didn't even know. I just pile it in. I'll just push that down with the rest of that dark stuff. So it wasn't until I was able to know that there was something wrong and know that I'm supposed to feel something.
Yeah.
Now I can access that easily.
Right.
Well,
and use breath as a tool for that.
And we've been fed a lie in a lot of our Western culture that, people will call it stoic, to just hold the emotion and push it down. And that's not it.
Yeah.
It's to live that emotion and to feel it. And that power from living through those emotions and living through those dark times, that vulnerability is where our strength comes from. And the lie we've been fed is that's weakness. That the true gateway to our strength is been given this illusion of that it is our weakness. And that's such a pile of garbage.
Right.
Like if you feel this, you're lesser than, and they'll throw names. Oh, you're gay. Like they'll just demean it. You're feeling these emotions. Oh, you're dismissing it. And in that emotional state where you're most vulnerable, that's where your strength that's where you're going to find all that strength and power and those virtues to okay, keep going. Because it's not when you fail, it's that next step after. One of my favorite quotes is the most important step is always the next one.
Oh, I like that.
And don't be defined by your failure. Be defined by the fact that you got up in spite of it and kept moving. It's when we stay down. No one likes that story. They like the story of the man who took 32 years to cry. That could be an Aesop's fable right there. Like, it's a perfect title.
Like, the man who took 32 years to cry.
Yeah, like that's the moral is right there in the title. Like,
I like that.
We look at our communities when somebody is having some sort of emotional distress. If a friend of yours breaks up with his girlfriend or his wife, what do? Go get drunk.
Let's get
Oh,
drink.
that's a great point.
That's
Let's
our
sit
answer,
down and
right?
drink about it. Let's go drink about it right now.
Yeah. And that just numbs the emotional response even more.
Yeah. One of the things
You should say, let's go breathe together.
Yeah. Right. Actually getting some kind of a positive way to get through it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I say, as a bartender of 16 years, I've got to say there's something to that drinking thing.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I mean, not for like the whole time, but going out, and I'm not saying get like blackout drunk, but having a beer or two and then go do some breath work. That might be, maybe not either or, but both and.
Yeah.
Just get a couple beers, get those walls down a little bit. Let's do some deep breathing, and then I'll have you crying into your Guinness. It'll be a perfect day.
This is coming from a guy who, whenever I ran out of beer one time, and I was like, Chuck, we got to get more beer. He went with me to try to find more beer, even though to drink it for him would be death. So he's a good man. He's a good man. But one of the things that coming back to I guess the theme of the night, how it's going to save the world. If we look at, I like what we've talked about, the fact that you have to acknowledge emotion, and you can't hide from it. At the same time, there are some emotional states that it is incredibly helpful to understand once you are in touch with your emotional state, and you can say, okay, I'm feeling too angry.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't, there's no reason for me to feel this, or I'm feeling fear. Now, fear is a helpful emotion. It's something that it keeps us from doing things that are too dangerous, but it can be too strong, right? We can have unhealthy fears. So using the breath to regulate emotional state, I think that right there is my one great hope as a breath worker, for breath work to save the world, because I think it's been sectioned off for forever as, okay, you're either, basically you have to join an Eastern religion, right? Or you have to be new agey, right? You have to be, it's going to be something where, like, I don't know have you ever seen holotropic breath work, like just videos of, I know we've done it, but if you go, the average person could go on YouTube and look up holotropic breath work. It looks like an exorcism.
It
right?
does. Sounds like one too.
Oh my God, it does.
It's
and
wild.
You're seeing these people, and you're like, I never want to do that.
That never happened to me. That's never happened to me. That's
never happened to me, but I'm just saying, they don't have a great advertising department when it comes to holotropic breath work. A lot of these are like, a lot of the deeper altered state stuff is like, the weirder it is, the more they use that to sell it. And what I really hope is that we can start teaching our children and say, listen, okay, you have these emotions, right? They're there, and it's part of the human condition. We know this is part of being a human being. Now, there's going to be times whenever you need to muster up some courage. There's going to be times whenever you're angry or distracted, or you just can't focus. And guess what? You have a tool, right? It's not a panacea, but it's a tool that you can use to put yourself in the state that is best appropriate for the situation. And one of my jobs, I work too much. One of my jobs is an English professor, and I see this all the time. I'll see people coming into a state where you're supposed to be in this learning space. And I mean, we all remember school, right? I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster when you're that age. And so putting a person in a situation where it's like, okay, you need to learn this material, your future may depend on it. And it's important that you pay attention. And then your emotions are all over the place. It's an awkward position. So if it's something that the average person, and that's what I'm really hoping that we can get it out to the world, the average person understands, okay, there are some mechanisms, there's a tool that I can use to bring my state into a state of focus, or relax and get a decent night's sleep, or into a state where maybe I need to be more active. I feel like those are really, that's how it's going to do. I hope it's really going to change how we use our emotions, because, you know, I think we all signed up for this through a Facebook link, probably. I don't know. I did. Which is like the rage machine, right? So I mean, we have social media, which really plays to the worst of our emotions, and it helps us feed anger and just discontentment. And we see the results of that in the world around us. And if the average person could just downregulate a little bit, and oftentimes we don't realize that tool is something that's available to us. Obviously, we have to work through our own emotional, issues, and we have to work through our lives. But the tool to take us out of that state of rage that was induced by, right? That was induced by, I want to own someone. A lot of these terms that have come out in the age of the internet,
They're horrible.
It's the worst. And we live in this, it's like the age of mic drops and yes queens and totally owns this person and
roasting.
It's never, look at this,
it's a language of violence.
It is.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. Which feeds the machine even more.
But that's our body is meant to remember and observe and correlate that inside. Mm-hmm. Things that scare us, things that make us afraid. Okay, remember that so we don't go near it again. And those times we click on it, it's meant to hit those stimulators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to actively seek out the good stuff and actively train your mind to focus on that instead. Because it's not that there's more of one than the other. It's just, what are you paying attention to and what holds more weight on the scale of your mind? And negative and dark thoughts always hold more weight on that scale. Even if you're seeing less of them, they're going to hold more weight.
They're still going to be there. And that's evolution, though. That's how we develop. Right? Long millennia ago, we were being hunted by saber-toothed tigers. We didn't know what was over the next hill. Life was dangerous, and we had to be afraid of it, get our fire and get our food and get back to our cave.
To stay alive.
Right? And we had no choice. But now we think that these things, our saber-toothed tiger right here in our pocket, is our friend, but it's hunting us. We don't know. We don't know we're being hunted anymore. Our brains used to know we were being hunted and we were on the lookout.
I like that.
Now it's creeping in. We're not even aware that we're the prey now.
But we enter the hunter's view every day. The hunter's view is this. Looking at and we're deeper into that stress response. We narrow the vision instead of just adopting the posture of that calm, open look. Put your phone down, or at least hold it up and hold that wide view.
That's the posture of fear. If you ever sneak up on your kids and scare them, they curl in. They curl in everywhere. That's what we do. We curl in and we're looking at our phones, and that's the posture of fear. So when we put ourselves in that position, we're automatically going to feel fear. And now we're being stimulated to be afraid of this stuff that we're reading and this anger that's going to feed into it. So now our breath is quickening. We're just feeding into the same thing. That's when we tie this back to Stoicism. We've been talking about, Stoicism as, don't feel anything. That's our small s Stoic. We're large s Stoics. The Stoics love emotions. We feel them. Life makes impressions on us. And we're here to observe and to respond. So we take that moment and think, why am I feeling like that? And take a moment to just observe your state. And then that's when we have all these tools within us to just change this distress to eustress, downregulate from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, go to sleep, wake up, have a meeting, drive your car, play with the kids.
Listen
and you can change it just like that.
Listen to the joke for the 50th time. Exactly. No, I think it requires a strong ability to be vulnerable enough to identify those emotions. I mean, you can't know which tool you need to use until you know your state, right? And so I absolutely agree.
And as I love what you pointed out, and as knowing our state, knowing what actions you're taking in your day are doing to influence your state. Most of society doesn't know that this is the posture of fear and putting you in an anxious state.
Mhm.
They just don't know. And if they're told that, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my favorite things. You don't know what you don't know.
Right. And I will say, as much as I will rail against my phone, people using phones and whatever, and as much as I rail against a lot of the use of technology that has this darker edge, I use all of these things, and I have no plans to ever quit. And just being honest, right? And I think that's important enough to say, okay, yeah, but I will be doing this in the next 24 hours. And this is where I think it's important to the fact that you're aware of it, right? It's just like your emotions, just like all these things. If you are aware of it, then you can make steps to mitigate, and you can make steps to say, okay, maybe I'll do it less, or maybe I'm going to try to figure out some kind of a way to undo that. Like, for instance, sitting down. I don't know about you guys, but especially with COVID and everything, right? I've sat down more than any other time in my life. And of course, we understand that this affects everything, right? So it affects your posture. It affects, you get the glutes that are underactive, and your psoas and your hip flexors, they're overactive, and that affects your posture, which affects your breathing, which affects your state. And I mean, it can, these little things, right? And so, well, let's see, how can I mitigate that? Well, I'm still going to be sitting down, but the fact that I'm aware of these things, I can utilize the right tool. Just like when I'm angry and I still love this person, right? Or whenever I'm afraid and I still have to do this thing, or when I'm sad and I still have to get through the day. And I think that's where breath work offers us. It's something that's always with us. It's something that's free. It's something that, it doesn't matter how rich you are or poor you are. You can utilize this it's a tool that you have.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not,
as long as you have the awareness.
And to the awareness point, the more you utilize and practice with this tool when you don't need it, the more familiar you're going to be with using it when you do.
Oh, yeah.
The more you become aware of it. There was a study out of an Italian university 4 or 5 years ago. They took a cohort of people with anxiety disorder and they're medicated for an anxiety disorder. And they taught them a simple breath awareness meditation, which is just sitting and observing your breath, like feeling the rush of cool air in and out, feeling your belly going up and down, feeling the shifts of energy as you breathe, just being aware of breath. And many of them went off medication, but what they realized was that their breath changed during an anxiety attack before they were aware of their anxiety attack. And they noticed their breath before they noticed their mood. And they would know, oh, wait a second, my breath. And they taught them a tool just to slow your breath down. And many of them went off medication by just being aware of their breath.
Yeah. The applications and the benefits, how it will benefit the whole world. Just think about just that in itself. But to Chuck's point earlier, how if he could just get him to do nasal breathing, right? That's one thing. There have been studies that show that when people engage in mouth breathing on a regular basis, and of course there's the stereotype of a mouth breather, not so smart and kind of, is kind of a little kind of a person.
For a reason.
But there is.
It's true.
There is. And what happens is when you're a mouth breather, and sadly enough, when you're a talker like I am, so I have to watch this. And I have no plans. I have no plans to stop talking a lot, right? But do you see what I just did there? But if I can, I'm going to try to mitigate as much damage as I can. But the thing is, they've shown that mouth breathers, especially heavy mouth breathers, it puts you in a state of hypocapnia. Yep. And what happens is that means it restricts blood flow to your brain. It literally restricts blood flow to your brain, and your IQ score actually does go down. There was a study, I forget where it was done, but they took it was basically standardized testing, and they observed the breathing patterns of people taking these standardized tests, and they found that those people who had an erratic breathing pattern, there's a part in our brain, the locus coeruleus, and it releases norepinephrine. And we all need a certain amount of norepinephrine for just basic awareness, to be able to be alert and to learn and things like that. We need some, but when we have large amounts, we experience it as anxiety. And they found that the students who had an erratic breathing pattern had higher levels of norepinephrine and did more poorly on standardized tests. Mm-hmm. Students who had a nice even breathing pattern, they had the focus, they had the concentration, they did better on tests. So, I mean, right there's just 3 examples. Mm-hmm. And we could go on, right? This is what we nerd out on. But just imagine people, of course, not to sound, I don't know if I want to make it sound snide, but the point is, but imagine if we could make people make smarter decisions, right? Right? If we could literally improve the intelligence of individuals by just saying, okay, let's breathe to improve your ability to focus and your ability to think.
Yeah. If we could increase the global IQ rate by just 1 point.
Yes.
What would that do? What would that change?
Man, let's find out.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's what we try to do as breath workers. We try to work, and God knows I need every brain cell firing just to make it through a day. Just, I mean, it's, but you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where, you don't know that you have this thing in you, right? I didn't know. Whenever I found out breath work, that's a thing. And it wasn't
crunchy.
Yeah. I was like, okay, Yoda, are you gonna, or whatever. But I remember I started learning pranayama before I learned Wim Hof method, and I didn't really feel in it a major difference. And I think that's one of the reasons why. And I see some of the comments over here. Some people have done holotropic breath work, and you feel an amazing thing. There's this incredible experience, and some of you guys were saying you cried like a baby, and it is deliciously intense. I love the way that was described. But and these are these big interrupters. But even and then I went back and I started practicing pranayama again after I did all those, and I was like, oh, I just had no sense of introspection. I wasn't paying attention.
You have to
it was on me, really.
If you're disconnected with your breath, and that's the big problem with the Wim Hof method. If you're disconnected with your breath, probably any breath exercise, if you're disconnected with your breath, you don't know how to breathe.
Yeah.
And then you go and do a breath exercise, you're just doing it incorrectly. You're just breathing wrong more.
Yes.
What you're doing.
Oh my God.
And if you have anxiety and panic and you're starting to do that faster breath incorrectly, you're breathing into that anxious panic state.
Yeah. You're making it much worse.
So it's not either or this is the only things. Learn to breathe correctly and then find the right exercise. You wouldn't just go to a gym and be like, what's that thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
I'm stronger now. I don't know what you did, but you just broke him like that over there.
The Wim Hof method is the max effort lift at the gym.
Yes.
But you don't just walk in there cold and rip 400 pounds off the floor. That's what people do when they go to they go to the YouTube channel and, oh, this Wim Hof breathing. I'm gonna why does my neck hurt after I breathe? Well,
right.
You're not breathing properly. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, and I love what you said. It is exactly right, because I get a lot of questions about, hey, would you recommend a breathing app? And I say, it doesn't matter how many techniques you know. You could know all the techniques, but if you don't have proper breathing mechanics, if you don't understand how to breathe in the first place, like you say, you're just practicing a bunch of ways to do it wrong. And yeah, I love the analogy with the gym. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Not to be a form police guy. Nobody likes the form police.
But when it comes to something as critical as breath, the original primal pattern movement, the very first thing we did, right? We really should know how to do that properly.
Especially since and if you're doing it incorrectly, you're breathing 20 to 25,000 times a day incorrectly. The body doesn't strive for optimum. The body strives for easy.
Yeah.
Optimum takes conscious effort.
Yeah.
and know that proper form. And if you're getting that proper breath, you should be breathing somewhere. I think it's around 9,000 times a day, half as much as we do now, like 5 to 6 times a minute.
I just take one breath in the morning. That's it.
Yeah, and that's good enough for most of the
No,
day.
that's alpha status. You know, that's when you know you're the right guy in the gym. The other one breath a day, done. That's the win right there.
It's a really good breath, though. I mean, perfect form and everything.
That comment, one breath a day, one cry in 30 years. There's 32 years. Get the numbers straight there, Kevin.
That's all I needed.
We are raced over an hour here. Let's do a couple exercises for everyone. And I want to start because I want to do my favorite one first, and we'll set you guys up for whatever you want to do. If you don't mind.
Sounds groovy.
That. I teach this to corporate groups. And I was in my son's school. I was on my son's Zoom call to the school a couple weeks ago, teaching the school how to breathe, teaching kids how to manage their breath. And I start these off with a little expression called stop, drop, and breathe. We all remember back when we were kids, the firefighters came to school and said, when you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll.
When, not if, when you're on fire. What will happen to you when
I was terrified growing up. Is this going to happen? Is this normal?
Yeah, between that and quicksand, right? It was just one
when
of the
12, that's when I'll catch on fire. And thankfully, I've learned this.
Yeah. But we did catch on fire all the time inside, catching on fire in the head. So stop, drop, and breathe. When you feel that fire, when you're feeling like, oh, I'm kind of out of control, my mind's racing, I'm losing my focus, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
Stop, drop, and breathe. So I want everybody to just close down your eyes for a second. It's going to stop. When you stop what you're doing. Stop the distracted action that you're doing. Now, if you're driving in traffic, don't stop. That's dangerous. But stop the negative thing that you're doing. Drop into your body. So just feel inwards. And as you feel inwards, there's 3 areas that you're feeling into. Feel into your head. Is your mind busy? Is that where you're being pulled? To busy thoughts and the distractions, the to-do lists? Do you feel into your body? Do you feel physical stress in your body? Tight shoulders, knot in your belly, aches and pains? Do you feel into your heart and the emotions? That's what you're dropping into. And now breathe. You're going to take 5 seconds for a breath out. Let's take a big breath in. And a long, slow breath out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take a breath in. And a long, slow breath out. And as you breathe out, let everything drift away. All the tension melts. Let your mind relax. Let that knot around your heart unwind a little bit. So this is our stop, drop, and breathe. And just to become aware of your state for when you're kind of wound up, you're on fire, saber-toothed tiger is gnawing at your brainstem. Stop, drop, and breathe. And just feel, hey, what am I feeling? Feeling nervous, feeling stressed, to feel upset. Why? Why do you feel that way? Can you feel that way? Should you feel more like that? Or do you need to change that state into something else to move forward? Are you about to go into a meeting and you feel like you're about to burst into tears? Not a good idea. Turn that distress into eustress and some energy. You're lying down in bed and you just can't shut off your mind. Some exercises to wind you down regulate you. Whatever it is, tools are there. I'll pass it over to one of you guys.
That was beautiful.
I like that. I'm stealing it.
Steal it. I didn't invent it. I stole it.
Fair enough.
That's awesome. Well, one of the ones that I find to be the most versatile is 4-7-8 breathing, but I've added a little twist to it. And personally, I know a lot of people use 4-7-8 for going to bed, for trying to get some sleep. And I think that is great, and it does work for that. What I've done though, I've experimented with it a lot, and I use it before any stressful situation, as a way to get into a state of stay and play. So it's not necessarily rest and digest. It's not necessarily, fight or flight, because we don't want to fall asleep, because you got to do something. You want to be focused, but at the same time, you don't want to be frantic and nervous. So 4-7-8 breathing. The things that I find to be the most important, again, it's not the technique necessarily, it's how we practice the technique. So we're going to breathe in through our nose, and we're going to be pulling it down, and take like just 2 fingers and put it on the bottom of your navel. And we're going to pull it down to about that spot. And then just pretend this is going to be in your imagination, but take 3 fingers and then pretend you can go inside of your stomach to that spot. And that's the kind of the target zone where we're going to try to pull that breath. Now we're going to also really try to expand our ribs as we're inhaling, so that we get a nice full breath on 4 seconds. So we're going to go 4 seconds in. And as we do the inhale, we're going to pull a smile up. So you're pulling the breath down, but as you're doing that, you're pulling your smile up, and you're going to hold that smile for the entire 7-second full lung apnea. It's the steroids for this particular technique. As we exhale, you can continue smiling because it feels good, but all I ask for the exhale, you can just exhale through your mouth, putting your tongue at the roof of your mouth behind your teeth. And that's kind of the traditional way to do it. And I've always enjoyed it that way myself. Okay, so we're going to do it, and we're going to do 8 rounds of it. And I will count you through. So let's just take a nice deep breath together. Nice deep breath in, and let it go. And focusing on rib expansion, get a nice full breath. We'll do it in 2, 3, 4. Hold with the smile. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let it go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now pulling it back up. 2, with a smile. 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pulling it up with that smile as you go. 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pulling it in with the smile. 3, 4. Hold with the smile. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All the way in with a smile. 3, 4. Hold with a smile. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Continue on your own. 2, 3, 4. Hold with a smile. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2, 3. As you go about your last 2 rounds, you can focus on the good feeling that you get, that sense of relief, And as you face the stressful situation or the exciting situation that you don't want to mess up, you can use this positive energy, this positive mindset, this state of stay and play, to be in the state to really face it with a smile. Really get into that smile with that breath hold and relax it out. All right.
Blissed out, but energized.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good.
And that's the beauty of it, I think, is that it's not just for going to sleep. You can use it just as a way to get into to the right state for getting something done.
Woo. I like that.
Next time we go to the bar, I'm not going to get a beer. I'm just going to do that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying. Feels good.
My exercise is for when you're already kind of agitated or flustered, and you're looking for that fastest thing you can use to kind of put your hand back on the levers and brakes and gears and put yourself in control. It's a double inhale followed by a nice slow exhale. So a double inhale is you breathe in all the way through your nose if you can. At the top, you take in a little bit more, so it'll look like this. And you hold that for a couple seconds. 3 seconds, we'll hold it for 4, and you exhale. This has been called the one breath break. This is a breath I give to people, MMA fighters, really, between rounds. Double inhale, hold for a second, nice long exhale, and we hold our breath at the bottom. And when it's time to breathe in again, we're going to breathe in 4, out 6, and hold for 1. And we're going to take 5 of those breaths. So we're going to do 2 one-breath breaks just to get used to it. And then after the second one, we're going to go right into 5 breaths. This is to help pull those levers and get you down. So if you want to see how effective it is, you could breathe through your mouth for like 10 seconds to get your heart rate going and then reverse it. So we won't do that now. But it's just, you want to see how fast your breath works? Let's do it. But so it's a double inhale. Everybody fully in. A little more. Hold. Let it go nice and slow. And hold at the bottom. Now we're going to take that breath in again. A little more. Hold. Let it out. Push to the bottom and hold. And now in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold. In 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold. In 2, 3, 4, and on this one, move and stretch. Out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold. Last one. In. Let it go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was only 4, but I figured we could stop there.
That was great.
Nice.
If you've only got 1 minute to catch your breath after you've been punching someone, that's how I suggest you spend it.
All right. Next time I'm punching someone.
I like it. I like that.
I'm just scanning back through the messages here to see if we've missed any questions. That's a great point, Nicole. Technology is just another tool. We're in charge of how to use it. That's that awareness.
Yeah.
Be aware
Yes.
of the tools. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with a phone. There's nothing wrong with Facebook. Facebook's just Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't care how you feel about it. It's just a thing.
Right. Is the tool serving you, or are you serving the tool, or is it simply maladaptive to your life?
Cultural dark age needs wisdom and self-control, perhaps the most. Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
My breath class. I'm going to plug my breath class now on Sundays at 10 a.m. There are a lot of emotional releases in that class. I draw on some properties of holotropic in it with the rhythmic breathing. In order to, and then in the meditation parts, I do guide people inwards into that emotional space to help dig out some of the muck. Because that's what I need. That's the kind of person I am, kind of emotionally stunted, and I need help getting in there. So it's very intentional that we go in and do that emotional work and make a practice of it. And the more we make a practice of doing the emotional work, the easier it is to notice your emotions. Whereas I went for decades not knowing not feeling at all. Now I feel all the time, and because I practice. Feelings are a practice.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying that, Andre. Breathing's not for everyone. And if you find breath work hard, well, that's okay.
That's true.
Yeah. And up here, yeah,
I think
it's really sad. Oh, where was it? It's gone. Something about losing your breath. When you do you not have a stress breath when you go into the ice? Yes, you do. Oh,
no, it's
yes, you
okay.
do.
You embrace that stress breath. You let it hit you.
Yeah, that's the point.
And then you find the calm one.
Yeah, you recognize your breath, that stress breath when you're in the cold, more than ever, because it slaps you in the face. Oh my God, get out, get out. It's cold. And it's taking control over that breath. And like you said, Chuck, letting it go, letting your body relax. And as soon as you relax, it's like, no. And finding that control over your breath. And when you can do it in the ice water, then you notice that you can just do it anytime now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain where people go wrong with the Wim Hof breathing? What general suggestions do you have for technique? I recommend people go to a workshop and work with an instructor to learn how to breathe. When I love Wim, I've worked with Wim. Wim breathes properly. When you're there next to him, you see him breathing. The videos looks like he's hyperventilating. He's not. He's breathing properly, deep and slow in his belly. He breathes properly. But people have a stress breath. They have all sorts of things wrong with the way they breathe, and they come into it and they just start to all the time. And and then they force it. People like, you only have to go on the Facebook group.
Man, I held for 10 minutes today. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I can sit in ice water for 20 minutes. I feel so sick. Well, don't do that.
And one of my favorite things I tell all my clients is never breathe faster than you can breathe correctly.
Yeah.
With practice comes speed, but first you have to practice. And if you have muscles that aren't used properly, don't expect them to be usable easily.
Yeah. And it can take a while to learn to activate your diaphragm again. If you've been sitting down, hunched over, staring at a monitor for decades, your diaphragm is dysfunctional. It doesn't contract properly. You haven't been using it to its fullest. If you kept your arm curled up into a little ball all the time, and that's like the range of motion you had was just doing this, and then you try and do the big arm curl with a heavy weight, you're going to hurt yourself. Same thing with your diaphragm that you're supposed to breathe with. If it's all hunched up all the time, and now you're going to lie down and stretch out and try and make your diaphragm work, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to actually relearn how to breathe.
Yeah.
Kieran has a good question here. Can a work environment be so toxic that it's better to quit?
Oh, I love that.
Do you think
That's
that breath work can help with any environment? No, breath work cannot help with any environment, but breath work can help you recognize the environment that you're in.
Yes.
I think
help you make that decision.
I think that, a lot of it does depend on you, right? Because are you being the prima donna? Are you being the difficult person to work around? Okay, in that case, it can help you not, maybe be in that state. But absolutely agree with you there, Steve. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of environments you should not put up with,
Yeah.
right? And you should have the strength to leave, and that's a scary thing. And sometimes we have to deal with those emotions as well.
Yeah. And there are
That's that
just
fear and
some,
anxiety playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and again, that's fear trying to, be your friend. It's fear trying to keep you from doing something dangerous, which is possibly leaving employment. But at the same time, you have to be able to recognize, is that fear, is that a rational fear? Is that, or is that an unhealthy fear that I need to break
Mhm.
past? Because if I don't leave, something worse could happen.
Mhm.
No one deserves to live or to work in an unsafe environment or in a hostile environment or things of that
Mhm.
nature. And so
Mhm.
sometimes it takes a lot of courage to recognize, because I think sometimes we as human beings, it's very difficult to think for ourselves, right? I think we all recognize, or maybe we love to believe, no, I think for myself. I, but I think it's, as soon as you can recognize that we would prefer to defer thought to the masses, or to the whatever, fill in the blank. We prefer to have other people think for us.
Mhm.
And so it's sometimes difficult to say, am I really in this situation, or is it just me being, a big baby, or maybe it's just me being too sensitive. Well,
We're also prone to, well, we recognize patterns.
Yeah.
And if when our alarm goes off in the morning, that triggers us into thinking that we're going to have a shit day.
mhm,
And then we walk down the hallway to go make coffee, and we start thinking about all the ways our day is going to go bad.
yeah,
Right? We start to go down that thought pattern right away, and we expect to feel bad. And the more often we feel bad, we have receptors all over our body to feel emotions that send
mhm,
these chemicals to our heart and tell our brain saying, hey, you feel bad. So the more you practice feeling bad, not intentionally, but the more
right.
you feel bad, the more prone you are to feeling bad about
You
something.
get good at it.
Yeah.
If you get good at feeling good, you're able to feel good all the time. But again, if you're still in a toxic environment, then it's not a good place for you.
No.
Right. And sometimes it takes a little bit of being able to listen to yourself to know, is it me or is it them? Right.
Mhm.
And sometimes we can get confused and say, well, maybe it's me just being the big baby. But if you can really get a hold of your own emotions and your own state, I think it's easier to decide, no, it's them.
Mhm.
I'm out of here.
Yeah. All right. I know, Chuck, you have an engagement you have to get off to. So this has been 90 minutes of fun.
Yes.
Yes.
This has
Thank you all so much.
been great. Any last words, gentlemen? What's next for you, Chuck? What's in your what's on your radar? What's next for you with breath work and sharing the good news?
Am I allowed to plug my sessions?
Yeah, plug away.
I have on Mondays at 9 p.m. Pacific and Sundays at 11 a.m. Pacific. I do free guided breath work, and we do some breathing, and then you can ask questions, and then we're done. And when we're allowed to do in-person stuff again, that will be happening. Haha. But until then, I exist in the digital world, just trying to get people to breathe and relax and feel better. Same as you,
Awesome.
fine fellows and ladies.
Awesome.
Though
What
my
about you,
beard is nowhere near as epic as it needs to be right now.
You'll get there, my friend.
I don't know. There's
Gotta squeeze a little bit harder during those breath holds so it pops out.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
What's on the horizon for you, Jesse?
Right now, I'm in the process of coming out with the second round of my 6-week breath mastery course, and the goal of the course is to find your own personalized daily breathwork practice, because it's not a one size fits all, and everybody's different. You have different goals, and you have different life situations, and different physiology, biology. We all have different ways we react. So I take you through 6 weeks, and we test these tests on, okay, what does this do to you? What does that do to you? And by the end, you have your own personalized breathing program. So I'm getting ready to launch my second round. The first group was awesome. And it's also, the types of people that are into breathwork are also just really fun to work with typically. And so that makes this job really a pleasant job to have. But I'm getting ready to release that the second round, and that you can go to my website, jessecoomer.com, and I'll have that available. The old one's up there right now, so do not do that one unless you just want the recordings of the other one. But that's coming up, and let's see, I've got a Wim Hof Method virtual breathing workshop on March 3rd. And then someday we're going back to having actual real events. And actually I've got a few of those on my calendar. I figured might as well just put them on the calendar.
Yeah.
Hope for the best.
Yep.
Excellent. I actually just booked a live event for this spring here in Ontario.
Yes.
So a weekend retreat is coming up. I went ahead and booked it. It's May 7th, 8th, and 9th here in Ontario. Near
that's
London,
great.
Ontario. So it's a weekend retreat. People can, it's not posted yet. We just actually finalized it yesterday. So people can DM me for more details on that, but it's going to be a weekend retreat going deep into breath work and meditation.
Beautiful.
And something that's,
awesome.
and then I've got my live classes on Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday via the Stoa right here. So I think everybody knows about those here, unless you don't. Now you do. But what's really exciting is I am launching a men's group in North America. It was originally from Australia called the Warrior Within, and I'm bringing it to North America, and it taps into the original mythopoetic men's movement that came out in the 80s and 90s, but updated to current times and the current environment that we live in. Just going deep with stories and mythology and poetry, and just going inwards and seeing who's on the inside. We take that outer armor off and see who the inner warrior is. And that's a men's group, but it's actually, we're already developing the women's group in that as well. So that's some exciting stuff, just taking this work that I do even deeper. So that's all our stuff.
Nice.
So thank you, my friends, for coming.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having.
And to everybody out there in listening land, thank you for joining us. And if you like this, we will do this again. I've had a lot of fun. We'll get some other people, and we'll get these guys back, and we'll have some other talks. I like this format of just having a chat and answering questions when we can. And that's about it. Thank you so much, everyone.